Aristotle once said, "Man is by nature a social animal. An individual who is unsocial naturally and is not accidentally is either beneath our notice or more than human." Society is something that precedes the individual. Anyone who either cannot lead their common life or is so self-sufficient as to not need to and therefore does not partake in society is either a beast or God. This quote has never been put to the test as vigorously as it has been due to the COVID-19 pandemic, forcing people to self-isolate and take part in social distancing. This all changed when on the 25th of May 2020, people all over the world took a stand against racism when it was reported early that day a white police officer knelt on a black person's neck for 7 minutes and 46 seconds, ultimately killing the black person. This caused the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, people all over the world coming together to fight for a singular cause, mainly through protests. However, while most protesters were peaceful, some have taken this opportunity to loot and ransack stores all over the world. But why? Hello, my name is Kevin Tandra, and the title of this study is Praxiology of Adolescence, an analysis on social connectedness and dishonorable human values. First of all, let us start with the definitions. Praxiology is a term taken from philosophy defined as the theory of human actions based on the notion that human action is purposeful. Next, social connectedness, as described in the Encyclopedia of Psychology, is defined as the sense of belonging and subjective psychological bond that people feel in relation to individuals and groups of others. Finally, according to Professor Shalom H. Schwartz, human values is defined as the guiding principle in the life of a person. Returning to the Black Lives Matter movement, why would some people who are socially connected to each other through a single cause still have the audacity to carry out lootings? Thus, the research question for this study will be, what is the correlation between an individual's social connectedness and their human values? These are the hypotheses. The null hypothesis states that there is no statistically significant correlation between an individual's social connectedness and their human values, while the alternative hypothesis states that there is indeed a statistically significant correlation between the two variables. The research methodology for this study will go as follows. First, research on both variables and potential questionnaires filed before the study will be conducted. Next, convenience sampling will be used to gather participants for the questionnaire, and analysis on the results will be carried out. Lastly, extra research to explain the perceived phenomenon will be done before finally creating a conclusion to the study. Starting with literature review, this study has chosen two theories to serve as its backbone. The first one is the social connectedness theory as proposed by Professor Heinz Kohut in 1984. It breaks social connectedness into three stages of companionship, affiliation, and connectedness, with the fourth unique construct of belongingness. The second one is a theory of basic human values as proposed by Professor Shalom H. Schwartz in 1992. The theory breaks human values into four higher order values of openness to change, self-enhancement, conservation, and self-transcendence, followed by 10 basic human values that include self-direction, stimulation, hedonism, achievement, power, security, conformity, tradition, benevolence, and universalism. Here is how the questionnaire is going to obtain data. For the social connectedness, there is a social connectedness scale revised. A scale devised by Professor R. M. Lee in a 2001 paper based on the social connectedness theory designed to gauge an individual's social connectedness. It is a 20-question questionnaire with 10 questions being positive and 10 questions being negative that uses a 6-point Likert scale. The lower the rating obtained, the more socially connected an individual is. For human values, Portrait Value Questionnaire 21 will be used. It is a questionnaire created by Professor Shalom H. Schwartz in 2003 paper based on his own theory of basic human values, designed to use indirect reporting as a way to measure an individual's human values. It is a 21-question questionnaire with each question relating to a specific human value. It also uses a 6-point Likert scale. Same as before, the lower the score, the more of the human value that individual possesses. Additionally, some demographic information was also asked from the respondents. For this study, only their year of birth and gender was asked. Year of birth was used instead of age due to the fact that people are more willing to give their year of birth rather than age, allowing for less chance of bias. In the end, the question received a total of 245 respondents, 141 of them is female and 104 being male. The age groups had to be grouped due to some years only having one or two respondents. In the end, it was decided that there would be grouped until a minimum of 30 respondents is in each age group. Thus, we have the 2000 until 2003 group, 2004 group, 2005 group, 2006 group, 2007 group, and the 2008 and 2009 group. To validate the results of this study, a normality test using the chi-squared goodness of fit test was done, and the results all shown to be normal. Next is social connectedness. The results show females to be more socially connected than males, as well as the 2000 until 2003 group being the most socially connected group, and the 2006 group being the least socially connected group. For human values, people tend to possess benevolence the most and power the least. From a gender perspective, males are more likely to possess achievement, power, and conformity, while females are more likely to possess benevolence, universalism, self-direction, stimulation, hedonism, security, and tradition. From the age group's perspective, each age has two human values that it is more likely to possess, except for the 2005 age group being average in all of them and having none that they specifically are more likely to possess. Finally, a correlation analysis of the two variables showed that a number of human values have correlation with social connectedness. This is if the minimum correlation coefficient is set to be either bigger or equal to 0.3 or smaller or equal to negative 0.3. Sadly, they all show weak correlation except for the 2006 groups of benevolence being the only variable that show a strong correlation with a correlation coefficient of 0 over 0.5. This inconsistency shows that social connectedness and human values do have a weak correlation with each other. To try explain this phenomenon, three main points of concern is looked into. First is the chosen target demographic of adolescents. This age group of 10 to 20-year-olds was originally chosen due to my familiarity with this age group. However, as Erik Erikson stated in his 1963 book on the stages of psychosocial development, the fifth stage in the 8-stage process is identity versus role confusion, and he says, the adolescent mind is essentially a mind or moratorium, a psychosocial stage between childhood and adulthood, and between the morality learned by the child and the ethics to be developed by the adult. Along with this, a lot of studies has gone into how the adolescent mind is still in development and is possibly inconsistent. Thus, adolescent might be an explanation to this phenomenon. The second point of concern is social connectedness. A study conducted by A. Waits in 2012 showed how social connectedness could possibly enable people to dehumanize one another. As he puts it, being socially connected to close others satisfies the need for social connection and creates disconnection from more distant others. Lastly, and most possibly consequentially, is the COVID-19 pandemic itself. According to A.H. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, social connectedness is placed as one vital part of psychological and emotional well-being. Without social interaction, people's social connectedness or even human values can be affected. The conjecture of social interaction being possible through online means is a valid one. However, studies such as the one conducted by B.M. Okti in 2011 show that they are in fact different, and one cannot be a perfect substitute for another. In conclusion, social connectedness has a weak positive correlation to human values as a whole, with the strongest correlation being with benevolence. For future improvements, a more calculated sampling method could be used for a better number of respondents in each age group. A do-over of this experiment during a much calmer time in the world would also be preferred. As for future works, a more expansive demographic data such as occupation could be asked for, or auxiliary data such as time spent with friends or family, as this would add more depth to this study. The targeted age range could also be changed to somewhere above the 25-year-old threshold, as according to the University of Rochester Medical Center, that is the age when an individual's brain is fully developed. Lastly, the structure of the brain can be changed to an experiment. The structure of the study can be changed to an experiment or for better control of biases, as well as preventing response fatigue in answering a 41-question questionnaire. This has been my study on adolescent social connectedness and human values. Thank you for watching.